Welcome to the Tenkara Angler Level Line Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Agnetta, and I'm joined by three esteemed colleagues from the Tenkara Angler team. I have Amanda Hoffner here tonight. How you doing, Amanda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to see you.
Perfect. Nice to see you too.
Anthony Naples, who is not in his cottage. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, good to see you. Yeah, back here in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Cool. And then Matt, who's on a rainy porch somewhere. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well here at my completely not made up cabin in the middle of nowhere with completely not artificial weather.
I was going to comment on your wind chimes right behind your head. They're very nice.
Love a good wind chime.
It's very calming. It's very zen out here on the porch.
That's one might imagine, which is a great lead-in for our Tenkara podcast tonight. So we're recording this right after Labor Day weekend. Hopefully everybody, including all of our listeners, had a great Labor Day. And I figure before we get into the main topic, which we'll introduce in a second, just kind of want to go around the horn. I haven't personally been doing a ton of fishing this summer, to my own dismay. But I know Matt and Amanda, you two both kind of met up somewhat recently and did a little bit of fishing. Why don't you give us, what was that all about? Why don't you give us a little rundown on that?
Yeah, so I guess maybe 2 months ago now, a month and a half ago, I had messaged Matt and said, hey, actually, I think I messaged all of you guys. I was like, hey, I'm going out to Colorado. Would you like to join me? And Matt was like, oh, I'm going to be out there anyway. So I ended up, I know, it was perfect. Literally in the same area. So Jonathan Antonez, Trout Conjurer on Instagram, his handle, he has done a few podcasts and done a few sessions with Anthony about his cut cliffs and his pon-pons and whatnot. So I've been friends with him for a few years, and he's been begging me to come out and fish with him because why not? It's Colorado, and I had never been there, let alone fish there. So I ended up having some time off from work and making it work, and made it work with Matt. So it was perfect timing. We went up and caught some beautiful right near Fraser. I think that's what it is, in Granby, that area, like an hour and a half west of Denver. Some nice Colorado cutthroat trout, and right outside of the Airbnb I was staying at with Jonathan and Matt, fish right in the backyard. So it was perfect. Exactly my ideal type of trip. It was just a no-brainer to say yes to go fish with these guys. So it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that was really cool about the Airbnb we had was it was overlooking a really nice section of the Fraser River there in town. And so I was able to, on the sessions that I wasn't fishing because I was physically recuperating, I could actually watch Jonathan and Amanda fishing the river down below in pretty good detail. And I actually got some pretty good, some cool footage of Amanda fighting a pretty good sized fish, actually. So
I was personally scared.
Yeah. But I mean, you look like a pro from where I was shooting up on the balcony there. So we'll get that video together and get that out sometime soon.
So
Cool.
You weren't tempted to tie on like 100-foot level line and off the balcony try to catch your own?
Well, that would have been dapping, so I passed on that.
Maybe Cutcliffe dapped. I don't know. He dibbled and dabbled or something like that, right? Did either of you happen to use any of those flies? Did Jonathan?
His Cutcliffes? Oh yeah, I mean that's what I was fishing. Maybe a quarter of the time that I was there, just because I thought he was fishing them most of the time. So
yeah,
I was like, well, they're working. So why not?
I have, but I was using my old standby, my past lake, and that was working. That was working just fine. So
glad you guys had an awesome time. And I think what we're going to segue into now is the main topic of tonight's episode. And I think it's a really cool one. It's a fun one that Anthony kind of mentioned to us earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week to be exact. And as I mentioned, we're recording this after Labor Day weekend. And one of the things that's kind of going on across the country right now is fantasy drafts for the NFL football season. There's people that are, putting together their fantasy teams for the football season that starts this Thursday. So we thought it would be a fun idea to basically have our own Tenkara fantasy draft. And Anthony put together some really fun rules in this, where we'll kind of go back and forth in a draft and pick from a bunch of different categories. So Anthony, why don't you run through the rules and let everybody know what our Tenkara draft is all about?
All right. Sure, Mike. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I've never participated in any sort of sports ball draft, fantasy or otherwise, except for maybe like the playground, kickball teams. So I came by the idea of doing a fantasy Tenkara draft from a music podcast called Bandsplain. I just want to shout out to Bandsplain, Yasi Salek. It's an awesome podcast if you're into music. She does go these deep dives into bands. Anyway, this past year was grunge, and the last episode they did a grunge draft, where they drafted various, lead singer, favorite album, video, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that gave me the idea to do a draft for something other than sports. I'd never heard of that before. So apparently other people do this kind of thing, but it was new to me. So I thought it'd be fun to do. So for our Tenkara fantasy draft, what we're going to be drafting are the follows. So we'll each draft a rod. Once someone picks a company, then that company's off the table for the other drafters. So draft a rod, a line, and again, same thing. Once a type of line is selected, no one else can pick it. Fly, same idea. This is a little loosey-goosey how you define a fly, so we'll have to see how that goes. We can upvote or downvote if someone picks one and we're like, no, that's too close. So then,
so for example, I can't say insect flies.
right.
Downvote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then get to pick a locale. So this will be pretty largely defined just to make it fun. So if someone picks, say, the Appalachian Mountain or Appalachians, then no one else can pick that for their fishing area. So that's going to be the location where you're going to fish in this fantasy draft. And then the last one that Mike suggested was a wild card. And that can be anything you want it to be. So it could be something physical, your favorite hat or whatever. It could be something less tangible, like a fishing trip ritual, whatever it is, that's your wild card. And as we draft, you can, when it's your turn, you can pick from any category you want. So when it's your first chance to go, you might want to, there's a rod you really want, you might want to pick that first when it's your first chance. And then I guess it's a snake draft. Is that what it is, Mike?
Snake draft. Yep.
Yeah. So we randomly picked our draft order. Whenever it gets to the last person, they'll pick twice and then it'll loop back around. So I'll let Mike run that part of it, if you don't mind, Mike.
Sure. I can be the Roger Goodell or whatever of this draft. Just don't do me like
and then I figure we're not gonna be able to do it here as we record, but perhaps we could put a board up, after the fact. So when you guys are watching this, you'll have the draft board pop up occasionally.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I would highly recommend it. I know there's lots of different ways to consume this podcast. I would highly recommend for this one to watch the YouTube version, because we will have, the draft board, like Anthony said, and maybe some other fun things pop up while we're picking products or things.
Yeah, and I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, it's, the rules are a little loose, but I mean, it's just that we're gonna just try to have some fun. And I guess I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Yeah, so we did a random order of people. We used one of those randomizers online. So the draft order for this draft is Amanda, Anthony, Matt, and then myself. So Amanda has the first pick, and she is on the clock.
Oh, countdown. How many seconds do I have? 1 minute?
I don't know.
And so I looked at this list of different things, and I was trying to figure out what would be my ideal, because I do like to travel. I do like to have all my ducks in a row. So I'm going to go with a rod first, and you guys probably know what I'm going to pick. It's a Tanuki 350 Ninja, whatever, his flagship rod. Simple, 350. It's a pretty standard length rod. So for my experience on any stream, it's usually going to be one of his rods. So I'm
Nice.
going with the Tanuki.
Tanuki. Go ahead.
I just want to say that totally messes up my whole game plan. I'm gonna have to like go back to the scouting reports and try to figure this whole thing out. Thanks a lot.
Tanuki's off the
You should have
board.
looked at your players, though. You got to look at your players. You got to.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to take kind of a Moneyball approach to this. I just want stuff that's good enough to get me hits. Whatever that amounts to. I'm not sure how that works, but that's my strategy here.
I like it.
Cool. So with that pick, Tanuki rods are off the board. So Anthony, you have the second pick, and you can pick from any of the categories.
All right. I was pretty excited when I saw that I had the second pick. I didn't see Amanda going for the Tanuki, but that's all right because that wasn't going to be. It was part of my overall plan, but it wasn't going to be my first pick. My first one, I'm trying to. It's like like I said, not a huge draft person, but I remember the Steelers one time talking about how when they go to pick, they pick the best thing available at the time, right? Even if they're not looking for that position, right? That's the best player. That's where they go. So for my first pick, I'm going to have to pick the locale.
Ooh.
And I'm going to pick the driftless Wisconsin. Well, the driftless region. That's if I got to pick one region, that's the one I want. I just can't think of a better place, especially, I'm not getting any younger. I got some like lingering ankle issues, and wading those mountain streams is tough, But with the driftless, with those, not all the streams, some are rockier, but you got a lot of beautiful sandy bottom, gravelly bottom streams, and you're never far from the road. If you need help, often you could, if you break your ankle, you could crawl out to the road. It's not that
Oh
far.
my God.
And there's always cheese and beer, right? So like that comes along with it,
Right.
as far as the equation goes,
So,
right?
So anyway,
Cheese, beer, and
and
brats.
you can catch a lot of
Absolutely.
fish. So I'm going with the driftless. That's my first pick.
Nice. Best player available, the driftless. So nobody can pick the driftless, and that includes Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and I guess maybe that sliver of Illinois, right? Is that in the driftless technically? All right,
Technically, but there's really no trout there, so.
So who wants it anyway? All right. So Matt, you have the third overall pick.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump out and take line here then.
Ooh, okay.
So I can get level line before anybody else does.
Okay. So we did say, now Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong. Are we going to group all level lines in the same bucket, or are we going to do fluorocarbon versus nylon or whatever?
I think it's fair to do fluorocarbon as separate from nylon, unless you guys disagree. I think those are different ball game. But if you guys want to do all monofilament level line as the same,
I think that's fine.
Okay. So you're going to pick a fluoro level line, or am I making an assumption there?
Whatever the regular stuff is.
Yeah. Okay.
Which shows you my depth of involvement in that sort of choice. But yeah, like regular old number 4, bright pink level line.
Bright pink.
So
Cool.
is that the bright pink is the color that you like in the places you fish? That's the color that you can see the best?
Yeah, absolutely. I find I can see it in a broader spectrum of conditions than the yellow. The yellow and green stuff just really blends in with the grass in a lot of places I fish, and then you can kind of lose. It's easy to see on an overcast day, but any sort of sun, it disappears really easily. So yeah, I found the pink to be of all the colors I've tried to be the.
I'm a fan of the orange.
Stand out the most in the most environments.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the orange, but only like the Oni one that's more opaque. Some of them like the Sunline and stuff is not very opaque, but I like the Oni orange versus the pink, and some of it probably has to do just with our own eyesight, right? We probably
Sure.
more sensitive to colors, but
Yeah,
what about you,
absolutely.
Amanda? Mike, what colors do you like? You have any preferences, or do you not care?
I'm making a pick next, so maybe I won't say.
Okay,
but-
okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So one of the phenomenons that happens during drafts is sometimes there's runs on specific position players. Like if somebody picks a highly touted quarterback, but there's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft, the next team will make sure that if they need a quarterback, they pick their quarterback next. So in looking at the board, now I have the next 2 picks because this is a snake draft.
Oh, right.
I am going to pick a line here because I want to make sure I get the line that I want. I'm going to pick the tapered fluorocarbon line. Many different people make one. I think there's Nishin maybe makes one. The one I have is a Tenkara USA one, but it casts wonderfully. The only negative about that line is that it's a certain length, and you're not necessarily cutting that to specific lengths. But I won't know what length I'm going to pick until I actually pick my rod, which I haven't done yet. So we're going to put that one on the side. So I'm going to do a tapered fluoro line as my pick. And then I will come back around and I will pick the first fly in the draft.
Nope.
And my favorite fly, and I think this might create a little bit of a debate on what bucket it falls in, because flies are, it's very, very interesting. But the fly that I'm going to pick is actually I guess you could call it the killer Kabari.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. That's
I know I'm coming out of left field, but there's a specific version of it that I like. So Tyrone Espinosa, you might know him as TYROAM on social media or Etsy. He has an Etsy shop. He ties a version of that has the pink collar. So it's actually a pink squirrel killer Kabari.
Oh, this is why it's tricky.
So
Nice.
you all can figure out what you want to do with that, but that is the fly that I'm picking. I believe it is a Sakasa Kabari as well. So it not only has a bead, it has a pink collar, and it's a Sakasa Kabari. So you figure out where you want to put that. But that's the fly that I'm picking. I love it. It's a great fly in all types of water, and has been really, really productive for me over the years. It's actually the one fly that I go out and buy, as opposed to tie myself, because he does a great job with it. Hey, Mike here. Just wanted to interrupt the draft real quick to kind of clarify what the TYROAM pink squirrel killer Kabari actually is. One, it's not a Sakasa Kabari, it's a Futsu Kabari. And number 2, the body is not yarn, it's squirrel dubbing. I don't know what I was thinking when I was describing it. A long day at work. Anyway, has no impact on the draft as we end up classifying it as a nymph. But I did want to clarify that for everybody. So with that being said, back to the draft.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say, it sounds like to me like it's a version of the Coolie killer that I did back in the day. The killer bug with the pink collar. Remember that?
Not that, not that different at all.
I was in an interesting story with that. Once you put a fly out into the world, people are gonna copy it. And if you've ever tied flies, I've seen flies for sale that I quote unquote invented, and then you'll see them and it's kind of surprising, So I was in Arkansas for the sow bug, and I was a featured tire, and one of the things I was doing was the Coolie killer fly, which was just like the yarn body with the pink. I used like a shrimp pink dubbing for the collar, and then a bead. And this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, that's the Coolie killer fly or whatever that he bought from somewhere." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" So it was pretty flattering to hear that someone somewhere had seen it and tied it, and and knew about it. So that was interesting. So that's cool. So yeah, is that I'm gonna say that's, if it's a Sakasa Kabari.
Yeah, I have no problem lumping
I think
it under
that's a category.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a Sakasa Kabari.
Okay, so Sakasa Kabaris are off the board. So now
I'm going to disagree with that, but I'm like 3-1.
Well, we can vote. We can vote.
It's 3-1. It's fine. If there's a bead on it, it's a nymph to me.
I'm gonna disagree.
Just
yeah,
because
I got to agree. I agree. Oh man, that's hard. But I think the vast majority of what we would consider Kabari are unweighted. So, like, I kind of see where Amanda's going with that.
I mean, Kabar
Hmm.
means fly, but I just think anything
Yeah.
with a bead is going to sink, regardless. I don't care if it's brass. I don't care if it's tungsten. I don't care if it's, it's going to gradually catch. But that's just my opinion. So I'm outnumbered, but
Well,
we
I've
can
already
take the
picked
cast
it,
off.
so you guys can figure out what you
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean,
do with the
I
rest
think
of
it's
your
tricky though. If you call it a nymph though, then our Sakasa flies and nymphs then off the tail. Like I feel like it's got to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Well, maybe it won't become an issue. Matt, you have the next pick. You are on the clock. You've already picked
Ooh.
You're on the
a
clock.
you've already picked a fluorocarbon level line with your first pick.
Okay, I'm in a wild card here.
Wild card, first wild card.
Yeah, just early, and say with 1,000 of my closest friends.
Oh, all right.
I love the Tenkara camp, Tenkara event atmosphere, and to me that is like when life is at its finest when I'm kind of in camp with my tribe. So yeah, we'll pretend I won the lottery here, and we'll say with 1,000 of my closest friends.
So we're gonna call it like a group Tenkara event. Is that
Or we can call people. It could exclude other people.
Oh, that's
Unless someone was going to use those as flies.
Poor Anthony. Anthony's like,
No, man, we're
"Whoa,
supposed to make this hard. Anthony, you got to redo your board. I say I'm calling it executive decision. People.
everything.
This counts for people.
People.
Okay.
People, no more people. Matt took the ball. Matt took 1,000 of them. So
let me say this.
no people left.
Anthony's sweating over here. He's sweating.
Maybe I got a little greedy with the people.
If people are off the board,
Maybe your person is one of Matt's 1,000.
Do the picks have to be something that exists in our universe, or could it be like
So you want to bring Chewbacca? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, not Chewbacca specifically, but well, we'll see. I guess we'll see.
All right. So with that said, you're up, Anthony.
Oh,
I
I'm up.
believe. Yes, I believe you picked the Driftless as your first round pick.
So I got to stand by the Driftless because, that's if I had to pick one place to keep fishing. I mean, I love Central Pennsylvania, where but the quantity of streams out there is hard to beat. So, all right. So let's see. We can't go Tanuki, which I was going to go Driftless with the Tanuki 375. Because normally I like zoom rods when I'm fishing where I fish. I love to be able to zoom, but in the Driftless, I don't feel the need for that, And the 375 is just such a perfect length because it's not too heavy, like for me, even once rods get over 360, they're kind of heavy. Anyway, so you took the Tanuki, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like with line, Amanda, you're getting you're not gonna have a whole lot of choices left. So maybe if I pick a line,
put the pressure on it.
I can squeeze you there a little bit. But then fly. Oh boy, this is hard. This is not playing out the way I wanted it to play out. I'm just gonna tell you folks. All right, so I'm gonna go.
A lot of pressure.
I think the line I want is going to be on the board afterwards, so I'm going to let that go. Fly's getting tricky. All right, so for wild card, I'll go wild card. So what I was going to do, my wild card, it was brilliant and it was going to be so awesome. It was going to be a dedicated on-stream photographer to follow me, because everyone's making such a big deal about hero shots and everything. So I thought I could have a photographer. I wouldn't have to handle the fish any more than I normally did. He could have an underwater camera, etc. I would just fish and I would have awesome pictures. So that was gonna be my pick, but Matt screwed that up. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go with my
Well,
wild.
you're welcome.
But I'm gonna go similar to that though. I do like having pictures, and I think I'm gonna go with like a drone, one of those
Okay.
drones that can follow you automatically. I mean, I know those actually exist, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with a drone that can follow me and get some still photos and some video and stuff like that. Because I think that'd be kind of cool, just as a wild card thing. And I think out in the driftless, like since you're not in like national parks and state forests and stuff, like I think a drone would be legal in a lot of those places. I'd have to look into licensing and all that, but that's for another time. I'm going with the drone.
Drone. Solid pick. Solid pick. All right, Amanda, you have the next two.
All right. So I picked a rod. Oh my
Pick the
gosh.
Tanuki 350 Ninja.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with a line. I'm gonna do tapered nylon, if that's all right.
Per the rules we set up, that it is.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll do tapered nylon. I like a heavier line. It works for me, so I'm gonna stick with that one because if I wait till we come back around, I might be poo-pooed or something. Who knows? And then wild card to make it ideal. I love my Zimmerbuilt sling.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Zimmerbuilt.
I think it's it's the guide. The guide sling has the two pockets in the back. It has a place for my keys, like a waterproof plate, little zipper, like 2x4 little section in there, holds a bunch of rods. So, yep, Zimmerbuilt sling pack. I feel like it's bad luck if I don't have it anyway. So
no, it's a very strong pick. Zimmerbuilt has a very strong, resume. I think it's a 5-star recruit. So you've definitely picked a good one there. So then we're back to you, Anthony.
All right. Okay. I've had a little time to think and sort of rearrange, and I've made some decisions.
Poor Anthony.
I think I'm gonna pick fly next.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm gonna do, since I got the driftless, and I've had a lot of the streams aren't real big, they're not real deep, so I feel most comfortable with the beadhead nymph, but Mike has a bead, so I can't do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with a Cutcliffe style fly, but tied on a heavy hook, like a heavy bodied fully mill heavyweight champ, or there's some other companies that have a nice heavy hook, so that I can sink it when I want to, so I can fish it on the top, I can swing it, I can tap it, I can do a lot of stuff. And I think in the driftless, with those size streams, depth of water, I think I can still cover what I want. I can hit the top, middle, and bottom. So I'm pretty happy with that.
You like the versatility.
Heavy hook.
Cool. What are we calling that?
I think it's a wet fly, is what I would call it. So if you have to classify it in like the Tenkara world, it would be like a June Kabari, sweatback hackle wet fly. I mean, if you have to,
I think that's fair. Where we'll classify it, I guess. All right, cool. So you've got 3 picks in the book. Matt, your third pick is next. As a reminder, you've already picked the fluoro level line and 1,000 of your closest friends.
Okay. Let's do locale.
Okay.
And so like my primary pick would be someplace that doesn't necessarily exist, which would be Middle Earth from Lord of the Rings. But since I can't do that directly, I can still go to New Zealand, which still happens to have monster brown trout. So we're calling it Middle Earth / New Zealand.
Nice pick.
Excellent.
I like that. Is the fishing? Well, I don't know. I'm not. I'm not embarrassed to say, but like I'm not a Tolkien Hobbit guy. Is there any fishing in that?
Very little.
Very little. But we know it's killer in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's just people getting food usually. But there's a great song. There's a great song about fish. If you've seen the movies. Yeah, like Gollum has got an awesome fish. If I could remember the words exactly, I would attempt it right now. But I know it ends about the fish being juicy sweet. I can tell you that
Oh,
much.
nice.
Yeah. And you know, when they
So
were filming in New Zealand, like, you know, Vigo and all those guys took up fly fishing because they could fish, you know, so that was
that's true.
big, you know, a big part of their, you know, off time when they weren't filming.
Yeah, you imagine it'd be tough not to with the water like that, right? It's gorgeous, gorgeous
Yeah.
from the photos that I've seen. All right, so I guess the board is back to me. Yeah, so I picked the fluoro tapered line and a killer kabari, so a line and a fly. I have the next two picks, and I think I will pick a location, and I will. Kind of a cop out. I don't know if this counts or not, like in terms of a region, but the Rockies, does that count?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I don't know how broad we're being there, but I'll take the Rockies. And I will pick. We only have one rod off the board, which is surprising. The draft is like, I don't want to say it's almost over, but we only have one rod off the board. Tanuki is the only rod that was taken.
Yeah.
So
Let's not get pretty cutthroat in the last round.
I know, right? Oh. Let me look over at my wall. I think I might pick a rod here. I figured going last, all the rods would have went first, and I would have had to scramble. So I wasn't really thinking of a. I will pick the since I've got a sort of a nymph sort of fly, and I'm fishing in the Rockies where there is a fair amount of room. You don't necessarily have to worry about trees as much, and there's some tailwaters and stuff like that. I'm going to pick the Oni Hanryu,
Which
whatever, the 395.
Yeah,
Sorry for taking that off the board for you, man.
Out from under me.
I figured it was going to be taken by now.
I have a question.
I'll be honest with you. If I didn't take it, I would probably have taken the Satoki. To be truthful, for the zoom and the versatility, but
yeah.
So does that take Nishin and Oni rods off the table?
Ooh, that's a question.
How are we going to classify that one?
So I personally, if you were to ask me, I would say it takes Oni rods off the table, but I'm open to the thumbs up and thumbs down, however you want to do it.
I agree with that.
I think it's
look
an
at that.
Oni rod.
Oh, did that do that automatically?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to-
I don't know how it did that.
Is it working?
Weird. Maybe when you said thumbs
It's not
up.
doing it again.
Thumbs up? I don't know, but
Oh, that was weird.
all right. So we're gonna say that knocks all Oni rods
Oni
out.
rods. Okay.
But you could pick, in theory, a zero sum or royal stage or something else, I guess, right?
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Okay. So that was my pick for Rod, and I picked the Rockies as well. So now we're going back around to you, Matt.
So I have what, fly and rod left?
You have a rod and fly left, correct?
So I'm going terrestrials.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go like really non-traditional here and go foam. I'm thinking like hoppers, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen that video. I think it's called Damsels in Distress, but it's damsel flies getting picked off the top of the water by brown trout in New Zealand, and it's just amazing. So I figure like some sort of big beefy, they gotta have hoppers or something out there, like so. Yeah, some sort of big foamy terrestrial type thing, which is why I want the number for a level line, because even though it's level line, a little bit of extra mass in there helps deal with that less aerodynamic fly.
Cool. So you got a big chunk of foam in a hopper
Yeah.
or some other form. And I think that's a solid pick with what you got going on there, honestly. Your board's looking good, Matt. Board's looking really good. Strong board.
I've been up for 3 nights, guys.
I'm
Three nights getting this whole thing together.
You're that guy in front of the whiteboard pointing at all the things, all with the deranged look in your eye. All right. So, Anthony, you are next, and you have your choice between rod and line.
All right. Well, I guess I should. Let's see. Well, Amanda, everyone has a line picked already, right?
You do, yes. There's no actual. I mean, there's no pressure for you to take a line this round. You are the
Yeah.
last.
So, all right. Well, gosh, let's see. I got a cut cliff on a heavy hook. I'm in the driftless.
Being videoed by a drone.
I can't pick a Tanuki rod. Oh man. Can't pick an Oni rod. You know what? I'll go with a rod. I'm gonna do a DRAGONtail rod, and I just fished it for the first time, so I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I loved it. It was the Kokoro 360.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome rod, and I just fished it. I was fishing with Cutcliffe flies really nicely using a super light line. It was fluorocarbon, but it was like it was a 1.5 line, super light. So I'm gonna say that rod, will work for the line. I don't have to pick a line yet, but anyway, I think that'll work. I'm gonna go with that. It's 360. It's good, good length. Like I said, longer than that I don't love usually. So yeah, DRAGONtail. I guess it's Nirvana branded, right? The Kokoro.
It is.
Nirvana.
But we'll knock out all DRAGONtail.
Yeah,
we won't be specific to that brand. All right, cool. So your board is looking pretty good as well. All right, Amanda, you've got your last two picks are back to back. So you, just as a reminder, you picked the Tanuki 350 Ninja, a nylon tapered line, and a Zimmerbuilt guide sling. So you've got a fly and a location left.
All right. So location, I love Appalachia. So Appalachia.
All right.
Anywhere up and down the coast. That would be my ideal place. And fly, I'm actually gonna go. I was gonna go. Anthony took my fly. I was gonna do a Cutcliffe.
Awesome.
Jonathan must be happy right now.
But I have been fishing Futsu lately, actually a lot, with just like 3 wraps of like. I wish I had an example here. I've been tying, but it's just on a dry fly hook, just 3 wraps of like a white hackle with like a purple body. I don't even know what you want to call it, but that's what I've been fishing, and it's been working pretty well. So that's what I would fish in the Appalachia. Yeah.
So you've got your board complete, which we'll revisit kind of at the end, but we've got you down with a Futsu for this round. So then we swing back to Anthony for his final pick. He has to pick a line. What do you got?
All right. So I'm pretty. I mean, I was feeling a little distressed, but I think it's coming along all right. And I'm going to go with a nylon level line. And it's going to be. I think it's Cortland brand cider material. So it's
very specific. Very specific.
Well, it's a three color. So you have like pink, orange, and black.
What order are they in?
I can't tell you, but the black divides the two other ones. And there's various other multicolors, but those 3 color ones with the black are really nice. I feel like you can see the movement on the line really nicely, show up against different backgrounds. And a lot of the cider material is different. Like I feel like it's a little bit different than regular nylon fishing line. A lot of it's like a harder kind of, if you've ever used some of the nylon stuff from Japan, the high vis like saltwater lines that were popular, ones I'm talking about. They're like high vis green and stuff, porgy line. Anyway, I think it casts nicely. It's a little more supple than fluorocarbon even, so I kind of like that. Ideally, I would have paired it with a beadhead nymph. It would cast fantastically, but I think with the heavy hook on the Cutcliffe in wind, I might be in trouble. But hey, it is what it is, and that's what I'm going with. A nylon cider material, 3 color cider material.
Okay.
Done.
Cool. Matt, your final pick has to be a rod.
Okay. Well, I have it in my head that these browns down in New Zealand are larger than my typical driftless prey. And since I'm throwing bigger flies to, I think I'm going to go with the Tenkara Adventure Outfitters Wisco 2.
Oh, nice.
because I want some extra beef, so to speak. And yeah, that's got the reach and the strength and flexibility to put it to big fish, and it's not punishing to fish all day. So that's that I think is the rod's best attribute, is that it feels probably I think more like a Tenkara rod than a big fish rod. But yeah, we'll go with the TAO, and of course I'm biased. The disclaimer here that was originally a Badger rod that Mike Lutz and I designed back in the day. But yep, TAO Wisco 2.
Cool. I like it. And then I guess I have the last pick, and I need to pick a wild card. I didn't really give much thought to this one, I'll be honest with y'all. A wild card. I will probably end up picking. So I'm in the Rockies. I've got a big rod. I've got a bead head. I don't know what I want to pick. Maybe I want to pick an adventure van. How's that sound?
Ooh.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
So I can just go around from
Nice.
place to place and bum around. So
Thinking
or like-
big, yeah.
yeah, something
Thinking
like
big.
that. Adventure van or four-wheel
that's
drive,
cool.
something or other. I mean, if I'm in the Rockies, I probably have to have a Tacoma, but maybe that's not what I don't know, Matt. I know your van gets around out there and seems to do pretty well, but some sort of vehicle camper sort of thing is what I'm going to pick.
Nice. That's
Um,
excellent. Excellent choice.
Yeah,
All
good
right.
pick.
So I needed to make up for my line because I don't even know if fluorocarbon taper lines exist. I think they're all nylon.
I think you can get fluorocarbon.
Yeah, hopefully you can. I wasn't really thinking when I said it, but just thinking about it now, I was like, whatever. So let's kind of take a look at everybody's boards again. And what I think we would like to do is we'll obviously talk about how we all felt about our drafts, but we would love it if our listeners and viewers, if you're on YouTube, would let us know who you think had the best draft. We'd love it if you'd visit the comments on our YouTube video, back somebody's draft, make fun of somebody's draft, tell them what they picked wrong, picked right, whatever. But let's kind of go through them all. So I'll start with Amanda since you went first. You were fishing the Tanuki 350 Ninja with a nylon tapered line using a Futsu Kabari in Appalachia and carrying it all in a Zimmerbuilt guide sling. What does everybody think? Any initial feedback? You happy with your draft?
I'm happy with my draft. I feel like that's how I fish anyway. The fish where I'm usually fishing, they're opportunistic, so I could have picked any fly. That's why I picked it last anyway. As long as I don't scare them usually.
Fly doesn't matter.
So yeah, I'm very happy. I can carry it
All
on my Zimmerbuilt. So yeah,
Cool.
perfect.
So Amanda's happy with her draft. Everybody will have to let us know what they thought. So then next was Anthony. And Anthony picked the Nirvana Kokoro 360. And he's using the Cortland or other brand 3-colored cider line with a cut cliff on a heavy hook fly in the driftless with a drone to capture all of his action from above. Are you happy with your draft, Anthony?
I mean, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I feel like I choked a little on my wild card. Like I wasn't thinking big enough, like an adventure van, like I was thinking smaller. So I kind of regret that. But overall, I mean, as far as the fishing stuff goes, I'm pretty happy, and I'm confident that I would be able to catch fish under a lot of different conditions. So yeah, I wish I'd have thought bigger, and gone with an adventure van. I'm really jealous of that pick, but I'm pretty happy.
And it was the last pick made. Cool. All right. So Matt, you had a really solid draft. You're obviously going for big fish with your draft, it looks like. So you had the Tenkara Adventure Outfitters Wisco 2 using a fluorocarbon level line, a foamy terrestrial, like a hopper, in Middle Earth or New Zealand, which we'll call what is actually where you'd be, with 1,000 of your closest friends. How do you like your draft?
I like it a lot. You know, one of the reasons for picking a big fish rod is just in case I have to fight off orcs. You know, there's
The 1,000 friends will come in handy for that too, you know?
exactly. You see, you're picking up on it here. Like, I really, you know, there's going to be a cavalry charge at some point. You know, all sorts of good stuff. But no, that would be a dream trip. You know, I mean, you know, even if I were unfortunately unable to bring 1,000 good friends along, you know, that would be something else to explore the water out in New Zealand. I think that equipment would do pretty well. So very happy with the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I thought you had a really good draft. Definitely a different draft too. You know what I mean? Like going for the big fish and the gear that kind of you know goes along with it. And then to summarize my draft, I picked the Oni Hanru 395. I'm using a fluorocarbon taper line, which may or may not exist. Throwing a killer Kabari in the Rockies and driving around from top to bottom, left and right in a adventure vehicle of some sort. We'll call it a van or whatever. I got the candy in the back, maybe some cold beer, whatever. So I'm happy with my draft, other than my line, which was ironically I think was the first one I picked. But I think the vehicle at the end, the wild card, just opens up a lot of range for me, and the Oni rod is one of those rods that, while it is categorized as, I guess, a Hanru, you know, big water, large river rod, like it's one that doesn't fish heavy. It's light in hand, so I feel like if I did go into some smaller water, you know, or smaller fish, it would fish more than adequate in those circumstances. So that summarizes the draft. Again, we'd love to hear from any of our readers, listeners, viewers, however you're consuming this. Put some comments in the YouTube video. And I think what we're going to do is we'll actually, if we get a lot of comments, we might give something away. We'll pick a commenter at random. I'm not really sure what we're going to give away quite yet. But we'll pick a commenter at random. Maybe we'll let it go for a week or two, and then you know, pick somebody and give away a prize to kind of encourage everybody to comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Never forget to do that. It helps us out tremendously, both on YouTube and wherever you listen, you know, to the podcasts. So that was pretty fun, right, guys? I thought it was.
Yeah,
I like that.
that was a good
I enjoyed
time.
it.
Yeah, we should do this again, maybe next spring, I think, and maybe we can get a couple more people, make it even harder. If you had, it might be long to actually do, but I think if you had like 6 or 8 people doing it, like those options would really burn up quick, you know what I mean? And it would make some real head scratchers. But I really had a fun time with this one. I think it was fun. Cool. And you know, I think everybody got a really well-rounded experience at the end of the day. I'm glad everybody's happy with their draft. So I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Anybody else have anything they want to add or talk about?
You're not.
I'm good.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Tenkara Angler Level Line podcast. Appreciate you all listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.